So today we'll discuss June 2020 exam analysis and preparation strategy for upcoming exam, which will happen in May 2020 for Code 55 HRM subject. Okay, so before anything else, let us look at what our target should be, and so how will we decide that? We'll analyze cutoff in the previous year papers. Okay, so cutoff in December 18 was this, then June 19 was this, then December 19 cutoff was this, and the latest exam which happened a few months back, the cutoff was this. Okay, so what do we understand from it? Okay, so if we look at the cutoff, and so if we look at the JRF cutoff, it was 68 over here, then it became 70%, then it was 67%, and again in June 2020 it was 71%. Okay, so first thing which we can understand is that for JRF, the cutoff will be somewhere close to 70%. Obviously few percentage point up and down, 2-3 percentage point, but you can assume it to be 70%. Second thing, for net, whatever cutoff is there for JRF, it will be around like 8-9 percentage point less than JRF. This is the trend. Okay, so now we understand that we need to put up a score of above 70% if we want to be safe and if you want to acquire JRF in Code 55 HRM. Okay, now with this target in mind, so now how will we get a score of above 70%? Okay, so first thing, so we need 70% or above 70% in both paper 1 plus paper 2. Okay, so guys, usually what happens, because we have been seeing it for last 8-9 years now, that in paper 1 people will score approximately, you can say like 32 marks safely out of 50. This is what people will score. So that will be equivalent to maybe you can say 60 to 70% marks in paper 1. Okay, then in paper 2, what they will do, they'll probably score approximately, I'm discussing about guys who are preparing seriously but consistently they are not able to do well, consistently they are not able to pass the exam repeatedly. So I'm telling you their story, what is happening with them. So 60 to 70% in paper 1, and paper 2 they will score somewhere like between 50 to 60%. Okay, so obviously they will not get JRF with this score, and then what will happen? So then they will think that, and then these guys will think that in paper 1 anyway I'm getting 60 to 70%, so paper 2 is my weak area, and they will put in more and more effort in paper 2. Okay, now our first advice is that change the strategy. The strategy is that in paper 1, you should be targeting a score of around 40 out of 50. That will be equivalent to approximately 80% in paper 1. So guys, first thing, if you are getting a score of 32 in paper 1, please understand that you are not doing a good job, because you can score 40 out of 50 in paper 1. You can get 40 correct out of 50 in paper 1. It is highly predictable. So guys, first thing first, you have to stop undermining importance of paper 1 and start putting in more effort in paper, if not more, at least proportionate effort in paper 1 also, and target a score of 40 out of 50 in paper. Also, please understand, the effort required to get 1 additional mark in paper 1 is much less than the effort required to get that one additional mark in paper 2. Okay, so guys, what we are saying that plan a score of around 80% in paper 1, so that even if you do not do so well in paper 2, which is more difficult, then also your overall score is taken care of and you get what you want. Okay, so if you're getting a score of 30-32, not good, you have to improve it, and it is doable. It is highly predictable paper, and you'll be able to do it. We have been saying it with our students. Okay, now that that was a note on paper 1, paper 2 importance. So let us come to paper 2 now. So we want to put up a score of above 70 in paper 2 or 70% in paper 2. So what we will do today, we'll do 3 things. Number 1, we'll do 3 things. Number 1, we'll analyze June 2020 paper. Number 2, we'll put up a preparation strategy for next exam, which is May 2021. And then we'll take up any questions which you have. We'll have a question and answer session. Okay, great. So let us get started. So guys, if you have any doubts, please hold on. Some of you are writing on the chat box. So we'll take up doubts. So let me finish in next 15 minutes or something, and then we'll take up your doubts. Okay. About human parameters. So we do 3 subjects of UGC NET, which are commerce, management, and HRM, and then of course paper 1 included. We also do a couple of other exams. I don't know how many of you are aware of that. UPSC Civil Services, but for management subject only. Then UPSC ALC exam, Assistant Labor Commissioner, UPSC EPFO exam, which is out these days, and a lot of HR and marketing officer exam in different PSUs, banks, etc. Okay. So guys, let us look at this trend. So this is weightage of each topic in December 19 paper. Okay, December 19 paper weightage of each topic, and then weightage of each topic in June 2020. Okay, so guys, if we look at this weightage, let us look at something. In December 19, there were 4 questions on labor welfare, which became 8 questions in June 2020 paper, which happened couple of months back. Similarly, there were from OB, there were 23 questions earlier. This number became 18 this time. Okay. Labor laws, there were 24, which became 20 next time. So guys, what do we learn from it? You know, what do we learn? That we don't have to learn anything. Please do not be under any impression that so many questions will come from this topic. These things will keep changing. Next time, it can also happen that there are only 10 questions from labor laws. So because right now we have shown you these 2 pie charts only, but we have been doing this analysis for so many exams from last so many years. So there is not even a single topic which is less important or which is more important. Every topic or every area in UGC NET has equal probability of getting a question. You show us any topic which is there in the syllabus, and we'll show you a question on that which has appeared in some exam in some year. So what do we learn from this? What do we learn from this pie chart? Do not be under any preconceived notion that so and so many questions will come from this topic. Okay, great. So let us move on now. Okay. So guys, before getting into detailed analysis, okay, some more selling here. So basically, if somebody would have studied with human parameters only, would have attended human parameters classes, study material, live classes, online question bank, etc., he or she would have scored 89% marks in June 2020 paper. So we do this analysis after every exam, that if somebody would have studied only with us, then how many questions he or she would have done. And in previous year, so this number was 92% in December 19, 88% in June 19, 82% in December 18, 91% in July 2018, 80% in number 70. So guys, this number will keep varying, but what we have depending upon difficulty level of the paper, but we have seen that consistently we find that whatever we'll ask you to do, that will have more than 80% coverage. You can safely assume this number of 80%. This is what we have been seeing it. This is what we have been seeing in recent years. Okay. So what do we do for you? So basically, we first we make you go through some printed booklets, then an online question bank, full-length test papers. Then we teach you in live classes for approximately 250 hours. Then you also get access to recorded videos of same live classes, so that if you miss any class, you can see that. Especially for HR, management, these subjects, a lot of you are working professionals, so you don't get time to attend classes at pre-specified time. So we also make available the recorded videos. You can watch anytime, whenever you feel like. So this is what we do for you. Okay, so let's come back. Okay, so I'll request now Meeta ma'am to take you through this deeper level analysis of paper 2, which appeared in June 22.
So, friends, to know how to hit a score of 70% or more marks in UGC, this is UGC NET 455, right? Exam. Just to know how to score 70% marks in this, it is important to understand first that the questions can be categorized under 3 of the heads, right? So what I'll be doing, I'll also be exemplifying all the categories of questions from June 2020 attempt for better understanding of you all. Okay. Plus, with this exercise, we will get to know that scoring 70% or above marks, was that doable in this attempt or not? Okay. So what is this first category of questions? That is easy. So the questions which fall under this category are those which are not at all challenging, and also we can say that they are less complicated or totally uncomplicated type of questions are there. And okay, and what do I mean here? That basically, in order to attend these questions, they are just a common sense away. We only need application of common sense to solve these questions, and we can also use a very common method, that is elimination method, which is more frequently used by the students to solve such easy questions. Okay. So now let us understand the second category of questions, moderate questions. Now the moderate level depends upon deciding 2 further questions. Yes. So what are these further questions which will tell you that the question is moderate in nature? First of all, are these questions readily available and accessible? Where? In various graduate and postgraduate books. Okay. And second question with respect to same, to judge whether the question is a moderate level question or not, are there full chances of rating these questions with 100% correctness after understanding the related topic from which the question has been asked? Okay, so the answer, if the answer to these questions is yes, it means that they are moderate and these are highly predictable questions. So we categorize them also as predictable questions. And these questions will certainly be hit like bullseye. Fine. Now, coming on to the next category, tough questions. So the third category, tough questions. So what kind of questions fall into this category? These are basically those questions where I must say there is hardly any possibility of covering them while we prepare for our exam. So we can also call these questions as once in a while question. Once in a while question or unpredictable questions, right? Okay, fine. And believe me, guys, these questions will never decide your success rate in the exam. The reason being that they can be hit correctly as a matter of chance or by fluke only. Okay. So in June 2020 attempt, we have analyzed the whole paper and we have come to the conclusion that out of 100 questions, 17 of them were easy, 13 of them were categorized as tough questions, right? And 70 were of moderate level. So 17 means they can be solved by common sense, and this 17 number also includes your RC types question, because the data is given to you right in front of you and you can identify the answers from that data. So these are also categorized as easy one. Okay, so tough questions were highly unpredictable. I'll be giving you the examples within a few minutes, and moderate were strictly based on your preparation, right? Now, next, let us see the examples, few examples of these questions. So this was a question in the June 2020 attempt. Look at the question. Now, please tell me in which category will you pose this question? So see, so this is a common sense type question. Yes, right? How it is a common sense type question? See, this is although this question is basically based on some industrial relation management model of a very renowned author. Okay, but even if you wouldn't have gone through this model, you could have located a proper answer to this by looking at the options. This first question, look at this question. The other fellow is to be conquered and put at my service, and slavery is given in this part. So A4. So A4 is given in this option only. So this is a all common sense type question. So this I will remark it as easy question, right? Next. So we'll be taking up your doubts. Just hold on to that. Let us finish, and in the last we'll be having question answer session. So look at this question now. Match list 1 and list 2. So from 11, 12 onwards, we have gone through many types of unemployment, right? Even if we haven't heard of these type of unemployment, we can easily assess from the options itself. So seasonal unemployment, there in the list 2, you can see a corresponding match for it. That is unemployment that varies predictably with season. So B2 is given as option anywhere, or the seasonal unemployment that varies predictably with season. And this cyclical unemployment associated with a reduction in real outputs during period of recession. So how this you can make it like this, B1 answer. So B1 was there in this, and B1 was there also in this. Now looking at this cyclical unemployment option, you can much relate to the next option, that is associated with the reduction in real outputs during period of recession, which means C4. So C4 is, here it is given, so answer to this question is 2, right? So in this way, again, this was the easy, a common sense type question. Now look at the third question. Again, this falls into easy category type of questions. Giving employees more authority to make decisions is known as. Now here I was giving you one method to solve such questions, that is elimination method. Go for elimination, rule of elimination. So responsibility is again, it's not a power to decide. What does this responsibility? It's an obligation to perform your work. Decentralization is when you disperse decision-making power to lower levels. So nowhere it is mentioning here, so it means these are totally ruled out. And between these two, authority, what does this authority mean? Authority means power to take decisions is given to the employees. But here they are saying, so this is kind of bit tricky also, but easy. More authority to make decisions, more authority. So it means you are talking about empowerment of the employees, right? So this is again a easy type of question. Now look at this question, question number 83, which has been stated in this slide. Now, these are the all labor law types questions. So all theoretical questions, all questions which relate to certain models, theories. You can easily locate your answer depending upon how much you have prepared, right? So once you are thoroughly prepared with your studies, it means you can hit them correctly. So these are the kind of questions I was talking about, that these are moderate level questions. Okay. Next, transaction analysis is associated with which type of conflict. So first of all, we must be aware that this is a concept related to conflicts, and it talks about which kind of conflict. You must be aware once you go through the starting introductory paragraph of transaction analysis, right? Okay. So again, this is a moderate type question. So it depends upon your preparation. Now look at this question. In which year the Rule 81A was added to the Defense of India rules? So while studying through labor laws, you wouldn't never come into this these type of questions, which will make you, which will take you to the history. Okay, every time you cannot go in depth to go for in-depth history. What is the history or evolution of various labor laws? So these are unpredictable questions, and this will not judge your success rate in the exam. Okay, clear? So it is a matter of chance only or by fluke only that you can hit them correctly. So these are tough category. Again, look at these questions. There are n number of ILO conventions. You need not learn. I'm stressing on this point. You need not learn each and every convention. It is very hard to learn. Okay, such number of conventions with their year of adoption or any kind of data which is basically numerical in nature with respect to these conventions. You can only go through the core conventions. There are 8 ILO core conventions. You can learn them, and out of 6, these have been ratified by India. So which of them have been ratified, which have not been ratified, you can learn this. But not all ILO convention data. That is impossible, next to impossible thing to learn, right? So we will suggest that not to go for such cramming up of facts, because this will be certainly done at the cost of preparing for other topics. Okay. So again, this is a tough type of question. So look at this question again. Section 9A, minimum requirement about membership of a trade union, inserted by way of an amendment. Now they are asking you about the correct date. In fact, 2002, 2002, two of the dates are appearing. So how would you go with exact date? So just leave these type of amendments type questions when this amendment has been brought out, because again, this will be a highly unpredictable question. And this is unpredictable for everybody, not for even not for any single person. Okay. Again, this has been categorized as tough. Look at this question. This was out of the box question, out of the topic. What percentage of the net profit of the company the top managers are entitled for their compensation under the Companies Act? So they have asked question this time for Companies Act. You are not aware. HRM students, they are not aware of Companies Act, right? So unless you study them, it is unpredictable. Okay. So again, this has been categorized as tough.
So I'll take liberty to spend 1 minute more with you to make you understand what Mita is saying. Okay. So as per this analysis, in June 2020 paper, so there were, how many tough questions were there? There were, give me a second. Okay, there were 13 tough questions. There were 17 easy questions and 70 moderate questions. Okay. Now guys, so what does this mean? I'll tell you what usually happens. What is meaning of moderate? The meaning of moderate is that if somebody would have just covered the syllabus and has gone through typical traditional topics, not in depth. So that is your moderate. Easy means if you are just with sound mind and healthy body, you should be able to do that. So generally what happens is that people start worrying about these 13 questions and then says, paper is tough and all those, I don't know, paper is becoming conceptual, paper is becoming new pattern, and I don't know, XYZ reasons, depend. But guys, truth is that these 13 questions do not decide your selection. They do not decide your selection, guys. Your selection is decided by these questions only. How much? What is the score you need? Above 70, right? So these 87 questions, out of which you have to put up a score of 70, that is where your focus should be. And you know, every time there will be some new question. For example, Meeta ma'am just gave us one example of that, in which year, which ILO convention was set up. So this question came in June 2020 paper, but that doesn't mean that we asked our students, now you have to remember years of all these, I don't know, 150 to 200 conventions. No, we do not do that. So guys, if you just stick to basics, just stick to the syllabus which has been prescribed, or the syllabus which will tell you, you can easily crack JRF. Out of these 87, you should have scored 70 in June 2020. And if you do it well in paper 1, then only even 65 would have been good out of 60. Another thing, guys, for remaining 13 questions, even if you mark a B in all of them just by your tuka, still you will get at least 3 questions correct, right? That is what law of probability says. So do not worry about these 1 or 2 tougher questions which will keep appearing anytime. And do not try to change the boundary of syllabus based on these tougher questions. Just stick to the boundary, and this boundary will get you this piece. Okay, thanks. Yeah, Meeta.
So let us continue with the topic-wise strategy for all units of syllabus, and one by one we'll be discussing each one of them, right? So this is the prescribed syllabus by NET for 455 for labor laws. Okay. Now green highlighted area will show you that these 20 questions which belong to labor laws, right? These 20 questions, they have come from which of the labor laws particularly. Now one thing I would like to highlight here, looking at the figures from Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act 2, ID Act 4. Now look at this figure, Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 4. First of all, there is no inference like that we'll be getting these kind of questions from ID Act is more important, EPF Act is more important. No such inference is there. Okay, but you need to pay attention to the concentrations. What I mean to say by this word concentration means that most of the time the examiner is concentrated on 4 to 5 acts only. So if by chance you would have gone through these acts, then it means you will come out with flying colors. If you drop them out, it means you will not be able to score well. Okay, then you will be depressed because of your performance. So concentration means it can be concentrated on any of the labor acts, not which is depicted here. Okay, clear? And this is basically 29 from June 19, and 24 questions were there in December 19, and 20 questions appeared in June 2020. So average, we can make it that 25 questions, but this can be as low as, like Nitesh sir has pointed out, that we can get even 10 questions out of it from labor laws, undoubtedly, right? Now, with respect to labor laws, we have received so many queries, so many doubts are there in those who are appearing for 455. So we have tried to resolve those queries here only. Let's look at these queries one by one. And if you have further query, then you can ask in question answer session, right? So what are the important points to be noted in labor laws? First of all, section numbers. Now they have asking questions from sections. If you have a good memory, you can retain them, go for them, and at least go for remembering of important sections, basically which provides the thrust of the crux of the complete labor law. Okay, So undoubtedly, we have to go for sections also. Do we need to study rules with respect to labor laws? As far as my answer is concerned, the answer is no, except few laws. Okay, for which rules are important. For example, Industrial Employment Standing Order Act or ESI Act. Okay, otherwise, no need to worry about the rules, just go through the act. And again, if they are asking you a question from the rules of the act, it means they are unpredictable or they are qualified in tough category, for which you need not bother, as Nitesh sir has pointed out, right? Then, these are the acts. In the third point, you can see there are names of the acts which are not explicitly mentioned in the syllabus, but they are equally important as other acts, right? So the names of these acts are ESI Act, Employees Compensation Act, because in various topics, various subtopics of the main of the main 6 topics, they are giving you the hint of these acts. So that is why they ask questions from these acts which are not explicitly mentioned. That is, the name of the first act is ESI Act. The other one is Employees Compensation Act. Third one is Maternity Benefit and Unorganized Workers Act. Right? Next question. Now these 2 of the acts, earlier they were in the syllabus, Bonded Labor Act and Apprentices Act, but now they have omitted from the syllabus, so don't go for these acts. Okay. Much awaited query, that is labor codes. What to do with labor codes? Okay. Now, again, we have analyzed so many exams of Code 55, right? And this Code on Wages 2019, this was introduced way back in August 2019, right? So they could have asked questions in previous attempts which were there from 2019, but they didn't ask any such question from Code on Wages, first of all, right? Now, rest 3 of the codes, Code on Social Security, okay, there's a code on IR, Industrial Relations, and there is third code, that is Code on Occupational Safety and Health and Working Conditions. Okay, there are 3 codes now which they have introduced in September 2020. Okay, the date has been notified, but the date of their enforcement is still pending. What you have to do, whether you have to go for learning anything with respect to codes or whether you have to stick to the previous labor laws. The first question regarding labor codes is this. So the answer to this question is stick to your syllabus, labor laws only, because they have been explicitly provided in the syllabus. These codes, they are not mentioning anywhere, right? So out of Code on Wages, which is subsuming 4 of the labor laws, that is Payment of Wages Act, Equal Remuneration Act, and that is Minimum Wages Act, Bonus Act. So 4 of the acts, they have been mentioned in the syllabus, so we have to go for them only. Unless they change the syllabus, we will not be dealing into, we don't have to worry about labor codes. Okay, but as far as current developments are concerned, we should be having brief knowledge of these codes, why the ministry is introducing them, which type of labor code, which type of labor act is getting subsumed under which code, right? So how many acts are getting subsumed? So basic data overview of these we should go through, right? Okay, even in fact, what is the date of their introduction, even we should go through these kind of data with respect to labor codes. Okay, now laws involving numerical questions. So there are few acts from which the examiner asks you numerical type questions. So what is numerical? It means they will be asking you question to calculate certain compensation, certain kind of annual leave with wages. So computation kind of small computations are there under different acts. So what are these acts? This is Factories Act, wherein you are supposed to be aware of calculation based on annual leave with wages. Okay. Gratuity Act, so how much gratuity is payable depending upon the facts and figures given in the question. What is the amount of quantum of compensation payable under Employees Compensation Act? Same is the case with Bonus Act. And ID Act is much more concerned about compensation during layoff, retrenchment, and closure of the undertaking. So these type of calculations you must be aware of, but these are very easy and these are very scoring also. Okay. Years of formation. Regarding labor laws only, you must be conversant with respect to the year of formation, enactment of various acts. When did they get enforced? When did they when were they introduced? Okay. Fine. So these are the few points which are relevant as far as labor laws are concerned, and key focus areas in various acts. What does this mean actually? For each of the act, any act which you are preparing for, you should be aware of the basic thrust of that. Okay. So thrust means that what is the overview of that act and what is the main thing, main regulatory provision which is being provided by that particular act. Okay, fine. Because in labor laws, many a times they do ask questions on that subsistence allowance definition is provided in which of the act. Like for example, in this June 2020 attempt only, they had asked that outworker definition is provided among which of the following act. So particular focus should be, as far as definitions are concerned, you must be aware that which type of act is giving you distinctive definition, which is not provided under different acts, other acts. Okay. Now this is the syllabus for your OB. Again, you can see that concentration is there. So this you can see from here. So from motivation they have asked 2 questions. Then this what is there? Leadership, they have asked 3 questions from this very topic, but that does not mean that every time they will repeat. So concentration can be anywhere among the topics, among the subtopics. Okay, fine. And RC type, you can expect RC type questions from OB. Okay. So who gave which theory, prominent books, you have to be conversant with that. So be clear with the basic concepts. Okay. Now this is the HRM syllabus which is being prescribed. So as far as HRM is concerned, we should always focus on this basic concept. Okay. So unless you are clear about the basic concepts, you will not be able to solve any application based question. So questions can be turned around, questions can be twisted also. Okay. Again, authors and thinkers and the propounders' name are important to remember. And in HRM and OB, please be specific while going through the various definitions given by various authors. Okay. So keywords are very important as far as HR and OB subjects are concerned. Okay. And remember steps and process carefully. So there are different steps which we have to go through while learning a particular topic in HRM. So we must be aware of those steps and because they ask questions repeatedly on the steps. Now this is the syllabus for IR, Industrial Relations. Okay, so now again you can see from ILO itself they have asked 3 questions this time. From evolution, the 3 questions were based on evolution of IR only. Okay, so concentration can move here and there. Okay, and workers' participation in management, again an important topic. Collective bargaining. I'm not just telling you the important ones. I'm just telling you that basically each and everything which is being provided in your syllabus, They all are keywords and everything has to be covered. There is no shortcut to success. Remember that, right? So this is labor welfare. Among this, you can see that out of this, 8 questions have appeared in June 20. Earlier, this number was 4 only. So they have just doubled the number this time. Again, from labor welfare itself, they ask you questions with respect to their applicability. Application-based questions are frequently asked from the topic of labor welfare. Okay. So this time they have also asked application-based question from industrial accident and safety. Okay. And in the previous attempt, they asked question on occupational diseases. Again, that question was application based. So this is the labor market syllabus. In this June 20, they have asked 4 questions, and in last attempt, last to last attempt, they asked 5 questions from it. Okay. So that's it from my side, and over to Nitesh.
Okay, thanks, Nita. So guys, do you have any questions for us? Please go ahead. Some of you have written earlier as well few questions from the chat box, but please you have to write it again. Yeah, come on. So let us speak to Priyanka. So yeah, Priyanka, can you speak up? We have unmuted you. Yes, Priyanka, please.
Yeah, I have prepared from human parameter study material, and I got 30 score in paper 1 and 72 for paper 2.
Okay.
Yeah, but I couldn't clear GRF because of 2% difference.
Okay, perfect. So anyway, see, Priyanka, what you should be doing now this time. So you scored in 13 paper 1. So because you have because you get question paper also, right? Just try to find out. This entire paper 1 is divided into 10 areas. Try to find out in which areas you did not do well. Okay. See, for example, there are some areas like DI, like RC, then that ICT, then even this logical reasoning. At least after being taught by us, I don't know if you attend classes, logical reasoning, Indian logic. So these are some of the topics on which not even a single question should get. So out of 10 areas of paper 1, try to find out. Another thing. So Priyanka, you have got a online question bank of paper 1. Please
yes, study material.
Yes, please. Not only study material, but online question bank also, right? That question bank is so valuable. Please go through every question on that. Just do nothing else.
Yes, I have solved these questions for at least 3 to 4 times, each and every set of questions.
Yeah, just go through all those questions and you will feel so confident that no question will look unfamiliar to you in the actual exam. Okay, so thanks. Then let us speak to Viresh. Actually, Viresh is saying something. Yeah, Viresh, please unmute and speak up. Viresh. Guys, I hope everybody is available with a earphone or something so that you can speak to us.
Yeah, hello. Good morning. Am I audible?
Yeah, sure. Please tell me. Yeah.
Sir, I have just joined later on your session, so I just want to know the slide or just see the slide for the labor laws once again.
So anyway, first thing is that we'll also be uploading a video of this session on the YouTube, which you can see by tomorrow. Okay. So don't worry, you can look at it again. By the way, this is the slide probably which you were mentioning, right? And again,
so
although Mita ma'am has told you very clearly, everybody is worried about labor codes. Guys, you do not have to study labor codes unless there is explicit change in the syllabus by UGC. Remember that thing. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So who else? I think Anand is also saying something. So let us speak to Anand. Yeah, Anand, can you please unmute and speak up?
Yeah, I was asking the written material which you will be providing. In that also the analysis of how many questions came in previous will be there as per the section as you have indicated in your present.
I mean, see, just this will be freely available. You don't have to buy your material to see the analysis. This will be on the YouTube. You can look at it anytime. But see again, the one outcome of this analysis is also not to use the analysis. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
One biggest learning which most of us have learned today is that we don't have to run after analysis. We have to just complete the syllabus in a typical traditional way, starting from first keyword in the syllabus up to last keyword, and nothing else.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but this also will be available on the YouTube. Please don't worry. Okay. Yeah. So anyone else? Then we'll wind it up. Anyway, we planned it for around half an hour, and it is already, I think, more than 50 minutes. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, guys. Then thank you. Thank you so much.